I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible.
According to the World Bank, just 227 families own 47% of the world's wealth. Here's a poem about that, and it's called The Matrix. Wake up, Neo. The Matrix has you. You just have to see through the illusion, or you'll rue your delusion. In your confusion, you've been deluded into living in a prison of your own choosing. Do you find it amusing to be fed doo-doo by the nightly news, made to crave Gucci shoes, while ignoring the real issue? The extraordinarily disproportionate concentration of wealth in the hands of a few. Tutus, you want to cruise the new venues and have a few brews, while the third world sings the blues and reptiles abuse humans. Over 1,000 children starving to death every hour for the want of some food. Pardon me for being rude, but while you choose to snooze, our rulers amuse themselves, puppeteering human conflict and directing the daily drama, turning you into a fallacious farmer, sowing unconsciousness and expecting to reap good karma. You think the Dalai Lama can't see farther than that? It's time to clean up your act. Wake up, Neo. The Matrix has you. Do you want to know what it is? The Matrix is all around you. It confounds you and astounds you. Its evil genius is bound to arouse the sound of women crying and babies dying. So pay close attention, because I ain't lying. Neo, I'm counting on you. And the countdown started. Rotted. You catch on fast, kid. It seems you get my meaning. It seems you're feeling me. Because I'm appealing to the divine in you, the sublime spark of light in you, shining through every single sinew within you, the part of you that really wants to take the red pill and not the blue. So, Neo, choose. Remember, I only offer you the truth, and we both know the truth can hurt, and worse still, you can't go back to your sleepwalking slumber, your imaginary life 6 foot under. Because once you're in Wonderland, no man can put asunder. So, Neo, time to be a hero. And there goes the red pill. You chose wisely, bro, so don't worry if the room starts spinning. That's just the beginning. The red pill disrupts your input-output carrier signals, and we found that confusion often abounds around about the time you hit ground zero. So hold tight, Neo. Here we go. Well, hello. Welcome to the real world, Neo. Ah, yes, your eyes hurt because you've never used them before, and your throat's sore because you've been forced to snore for 20 years or more. But you're awake now, my son, and there's much work to be done. Because, Neo, you're the one. No, you won't need a gun. Forget dodging bullets, I'm telling you. When you're ready, you won't have to. Now, the first thing we have to do is to clue you into the coup, because Jesus Christ almighty God, have you been lied to? I did try to warn you, and now it's slowly dawning on you that the Matrix ensures the enslavement of the many by the few. It's nothing new. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. You don't think that's a coincidence, do you? That's the Matrix for you. Stare it right in the face and still you ignore it. Here in the real world where I first saw it, I abhor it. What is it they call it? Free market economics? There ought to be a law against it. It's bullshit. The bastard brainchild of the 227 world-controlling bankers. Fucking wankers. People think we're crazy, but one day they'll thank us. You see, how can a market be free when members of the same family, the same ancient conspiracy, get to print our money, lend it to our governments, and charge us a usury? It's an unusually cunning plan, this money for old rope. Bankers getting richer while whole countries go broke. Entire populations held in a chokehold of poverty, reduced to criminality, getting used to rat race banality, and paying taxes. So governments can pay back this axis of evil through their tactical patsies. The Federal Reserve Bank, the Bank of England, the Bank of France, the Bank of Germany, the Bank of International Settlements, the IMF and the World Bank, see? All privately controlled companies, the directors of which are so rich they're richer than most countries, and make Bill Gates look like a country bumpkin. You see, for some, money does grow on trees, and you've been convinced otherwise with surprising ease. You've been brought to your knees, like these people here, bleeding to death for the want of proper health care and struggling to survive on welfare. We're going to get them the hell out of there before what happened in Argentina happens everywhere. And here's the plan. We're using poetry to tell every man, woman and child across the land that our destiny is in our own hands, and all we have to do is take a stand. And here's how. Stop paying for credit. Stop paying the banker's tax. Use interest-free credit schemes instead. Buy all your consumer durables second-hand. Buy everything else from markets, family businesses and charities only. Stop watching television news. And stop reading newspapers too. And if you work for a publicly limited company, leave your job immediately. And finally, demand that the bankers give back the wealth they've robbed from humanity. Too much to ask of you? Too much for you to do? Go back to sleep then. The Matrix has you.
I'm here to talk to you about the problem of slavery. It didn't end in the 1860s. It's a social malady that's with us today, and it's increasing in its scope and virulence. The desire to enslave our fellow man is unfortunately intrinsic to the human character. It has been with us since the beginning of time, on every continent and in virtually every culture, from ancient Egypt to Babylon to Greece and Rome, Africa, Asia, Europe, and the United States. Germany and Japan openly practiced widespread slavery only 50 years ago, and the Soviet Union until less than a decade ago. China even today. It's a disease of our human nature, and yet people are under the impression that it no longer exists. I say to you that in a subtle form it exists in America today, and it's becoming less subtle and more manifest. Madison Avenue has just cleaned it up a little bit, dressed it up in new words. The slave master is now Big Brother, someone to protect you, someone to confide in. But it's all the same. He owns your life. Now, this may sound far-fetched, but I think I can prove it. When the IRS allows you a tax deduction, they and their congressional collaborators and the media call it a tax subsidy. In other words, they designate it as a gift to you, a subsidy. The only way they could conceive this terminology is by presupposing that they, i.e. the government, own all the money. Their view is that they're entitled to it all. That which they allow you to keep is their compassionate and generous gift to you. How can this be? You create the money by your efforts, your sacrifice, your creativity, your risk-taking. So how can it belong to them? It's very simple. They own you. They own everything you produce, your money, your house, your thoughts and ideas, your children. If you go to a foreign country to work, you still have to pay the U.S. income tax. You could dig a hole in the middle of Siberia and they'd be entitled to a cut of your wages because in their minds, under their law, they own you. They create arcane and esoteric laws to criminalize you. You may try, but you can't obey them. You can't even understand them without a lot of professional help. You have to run around slavishly collecting little pieces of paper, receipts, 7 years of detailed financial records because you might be called on to give an account of yourself to the big boss man. And if you've made a mistake, he can take everything you have. He loves it that way. That's total power over you, slavery. I don't remember when we, the people, signed over ownership of ourselves. It just gradually happened by them taking more and more of our freedom. But here's the worst part. It's really only just begun. In this modern age, the information age. Getting your money is not enough, even though money, don't let anyone deceive you, is the material source of your freedom. Now, however, they want your mind. If you deviate in your thinking, if you commit one of the 10,000 taboos, and they perceive your actions as a threat, they'll come out and kill you. It was the thought police who killed the children at Waco and Ruby Ridge. The penalty for resisting is death. After all, we're not free. We belong to the government, and deviant thoughts will not be tolerated. In the aftermath of the horrible Oklahoma City bombing, government propagandists tried to intimidate the people into silence by recklessly linking criticism of the government to acts of murder. Some people ask, how can you fear your government and claim to love your country? Our response is, how can you love your country without fearing your government? Who else holds a counterfeit license to kill, incarcerate, and confiscate for non-crimes? Remember, America is about liberty first and last, not obedience to bureaucrats. The Washington power clique wants you to shut up, get in line, do what you're told to do, and most outrageously, think what you've been told to think. We have hundreds of politicians and thousands of lobbyists crawling all over Washington, thinking of ways to control you, to extend their will over you, to subvert your freedom and replace it with their will, to capture, that is, to steal your life force. And so we should all be very angry, because anger is the engine that drives our will to resist. And without resistance, without awareness, they will take it all. That's not just politically perverse, it's a sin against mankind, because freedom is actually sacred. Drop an ant into a jar and seal the lid. It will spend the rest of its life trying to get out. It has nowhere to go, but it wants to be free. That is its nature. It's the way every living thing is made. Once, a long time ago, I saw something at the zoo, a wolf lying in its cage. I thought about how this magnificent animal was the end product of millions of years of evolutionary design. A nose that could detect the faintest scent, ultrasonic hearing, eyes that could see in the dark, teeth and jaws capable of crushing thick bone, heart and lungs that could run him for hours in a sub-zero blizzard. And yet there he was, lying forlorn and full of despair. He was well fed. He had a clean habitat and water and medical care. So what was the problem? He was sick with the knowledge that his wonderful powers would never be exercised again. And so he lay there, his head on his paws, staring blankly ahead at perhaps some imaginary forest that he could never reach because there were bars around him. They had not killed his body, but they were destroying his soul. God gave Adam and Eve freedom, even though he knew they would invite death into the world. That's how important freedom is in the divine scheme of things. And that's why we urge you to defend it, always.
The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams.